Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. So Gavin Newsome has been called out for dodging questions after blowing $24 billion tackling homelessness, right? We've all seen the videos of the homeless camps and everything like that. You know, the ones that they cleared out just in time for the Chinese president Xi Jinping, the CCP leader, trying to put on a good face for his real leader where he takes his orders from, you know what I mean? So the Golden State's budget deficit is at least $45 billion. A shortfall so large it prompted Newsome to propose painful spending cuts impacting immigrants, kindergartners, and low-income parents seeking childcare in a state often lauded for having the world's fifth largest economy. You gotta love who takes the brunt. Just goes to show who they value in this world. Ironic how kindergartners and low-income parents seeking childcare are the ones that are going to feel the brunt of this misspent $24 billion that was supposed to go to homelessness. Somehow left out the kindergartners. I mean, what is going on here? California spent $24 billion tackling homelessness over the last 5 years, but didn't track if the money was helping the state's growing number of unhoused people, a damning report says. To me, it's very obvious that they seemingly haven't spent one red cent of that $24 billion in the place that it was supposed to go. But at a press conference announcing his plans, he was asked by Angela Hart if he felt the administration did enough to ensure the money was well spent and if he was worried the appetite for spending was lessening based on the homelessness program. The usually confident Democrat hemmed and hawed for 2 minutes, to which Hart responded, "I'm sorry, Governor, I didn't hear responses to either of those questions." Yeah, go figure, right? Because he doesn't have an answer to that question. He has a filter for that money to go back into his and others' pockets, right? Allegedly, of course. The governor said throughout his initial answer that the problem was dealing with local governments, but Newsome was clearly chastened by Hart's retort. Newsome finally leveled, saying, "The audit did not surprise me," and said that the state has made unprecedented investments and tried to increase accountability from local governments. Yeah, you gotta love how he's just passing the buck along. You're the governor, dude. It falls on your shoulders. You don't get to say that mayors and whatever are misspending this money. You understand how this works, right? Who has to answer these questions? And if you don't have answers, that's because you're being a bad governor. You can't blame the local governments when you're the one that's supposed to be overseeing them. You should know what's going right and what's going wrong, and you certainly should know how $24 billion has been misspent over the last 5 years. But as it relates to the public mood, more is not always better. The public wants to see results, he added. Yeah, of course, more is not better. They want to see fewer homeless people lining the streets when they drive to work, right? They want to see growth and improvement in the state that they're paying these taxes in. But the audit slams the state's homelessness SARS for spending billions across 30 programs from 2018 to 2023, gathering no data on why the cash wasn't tackling the crisis. Well, I remember a few years back that one of their main ways to help with this crisis was to actually hand out crack pipes in a little kit that helped people do drugs, essentially. I don't understand what that was all about, but I guess maybe that's what they're saying. Maybe that's where they spent the money. They bought drugs for the homeless people. But it confirms what's clear to many residents. The homelessness crisis is out of control, and that tent encampments and troublesome vagrancy across major cities is bad and getting worse. Homelessness jumped 6% to more than 180,000 people in California last year, federal data shows. Since 2013, the numbers have exploded by 53%. California is home to nearly a third of America's entire homelessness population. That's what you get for enacting these laws that help homeless people be homeless on the streets. State Auditor Grant Parks wrote a letter to Governor Gavin Newsome and lawmakers that the state must do more to assess the cost effectiveness of its homelessness programs. Auditors probed 5 schemes that received a combined $13.7 billion in funding. Only 2 of them were likely cost-effective, including one that converts hotels and motel rooms into housing and another that helps to prevent families from becoming homeless. The remaining 3 programs, which have received a total of $9.4 billion since 2020, couldn't be evaluated due to lack of data. $9.4 billion just squandered. Thomas Wolfe, A San Francisco-based consultant and former homeless drug addict called the findings a scandal. $9.4 billion just gone. But in the real world, that type of business practice would get you fired and sued and probably thrown in jail, right? For misappropriating those funds because you put them in your own bank account or your wives or whatever, right? The state has spent billions on homelessness and it's worse. Wolf posted on X. Outcomes literally mean everything when it comes to a homeless service, and unsurprisingly, they have no data. For some, the audit confirms fears of a homeless industrial complex, a gravy train of funders, officials, shelter owners, and charities more kept on swallowing public funds than solving the problems. So it sounds like maybe a bunch of hotels and motels got their rooms renovated, upgraded to accommodate these people, the homeless, and then possibly those funds went to the hotel to pay for the occupancy of those rooms. A lot like what they're doing in New York with the illegal criminal migrants that have come across the border that are now staying in 5-star hotels on New York taxpayer dollars. And so, look, it's obvious to me that the writing is on the wall that billions of dollars have been squandered and will continue to be squandered unless Californians can clean up their own state. If they can't vote themselves out of this crisis and they continue to vote for the things that they get, like they have been, then there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing that the rest of Americans can do about it. We can talk all day on our videos and try to point out the hypocrisy and the bad things, but the reality is the citizens of California have to make the change themselves. And if they don't believe that their election system can accommodate that, then they probably should just move on out of there, because there are better states that will protect your rights. But the thing is, if you go to those better states, you need to adopt that state's mentality. You need to leave those Democrat ways behind, because ultimately the results failed you, right? Look at New York and California. They are fast-tracking themselves to being third world countries completely occupied by criminal migrants that broke into our country. The American citizens, the people that have gone about the process the right way, are going to just leave your state. And they're going to go to a real, true American state because the communist Democrat way has failed them. It's pretty plain and simple. These folks, they immigrated here properly, they've assimilated, and they certainly have demonstrated that they have the ability to move from one state to another. That's the easy part of their life at this point. But with that, you guys, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up. I've been trying to keep the videos shorter lately to try to keep people involved to the end. So if you're still here watching, I certainly appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me today. And I hope you come back to watch the next video. And on your way out, please do hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one.